We are back in Psalm 1, and today we're going to pick up with the first half of verse 3. In verse 2, we saw what the righteous person is not like from a negative perspective, and now we're going to begin to take a look at what the righteous person is like more from a positive angle. Kai estai hos ta zulon, ta pephutumenon, para tas diexadus, ton hudaton. We'll start with this first verb here, estai. This is a simple future from me. And this is not saying that this righteous person like tomorrow or next week will be like this. This is more like a general characteristic, a gnomic future or something like that. And the righteous person will be as or like something, and it's the zulon here. Zulon is the word for tree. Notice it's neuter. And we're going to find out more about this tree with this participle in the next bit here. And notice it follows the article. This is from phutuo, which means to plant. And given that it follows the article, and you have an article here, this is going to be an attributive position. It's going to tell us more about this tree. You'll see that the phi has been reduplicated with the pe there. That's pretty normal. And it has a menon ending. Given the nature of things, this is going to be a nominative singular neuter. It's matching up with zulon, and it is a perfect because of the reduplication and the menon ending tacked right onto the stem there. It's a passive participle. So it's a tree that has been planted, if you will. And then we find out that it's para, followed by the accusative. So this will be something like alongside. And it's the diexadus. We're going to find out more about that word here in a second, so hold that thought. Of the waters here. So it's planted alongside the something of the waters. Now I'm going to get into some of the vocabulary nuances here. If you want to stop there, we can just go with the springs of waters, but let's get into some of the particularities. This word diexadus is actually translating, at least in the Masoretic text, Peleg. Now, if you look up Peleg in something like BDB, that's Brown Driver Briggs, a standard sort of Hebrew lexicon, you'll see that it can mean something like a channel, a canal, a stream, or even a division, like if you divide a tribe into different bits and pieces. And most English translations from the Hebrew will go with stream, as you see on the screen. So it's a tree planted by streams of water. It's in the plural in Hebrew. Well, what about this Greek translation of diexadus, or diexados there? You can tell that there's a hodos here, like a way or a path. It's actually an exodus, so it's like an exit. But what about the lexicons? Let's start with LEH. I haven't talked about this thus far in videos. I'm going to have future videos on lexicons, but this is one of the two major Septuagint-focused lexicons. It's compiled by Lust, Einikel, and Hauspie, so it typically goes by LEH. And what's interesting about this lexicon is that it tends to stay pretty close to the Hebrew when it's trying to give sort of the semantic range of various words. So if you look up diexados in LEH, you'll see going out or going forth, which is closer to its standard Greek meaning. And it will also give you stream of water, most likely to get close to Peleg there in the Hebrew. And so that's one option that basically, if you want to go with that option, it's planted by streams of water, just like we have in the Hebrew. But again, that's because LEH tends to view the Greek more as an interlinear gateway back to the Hebrew. Well, what about Muriaka? We've looked at Muriaka's lexicon, the Greek-English lexicon of the Septuagint, and he offers two main options here, a place of exit, because again, it's an exodus, if you will, but he offers a spring of water as opposed to a stream of water. In other words, this is where the water exits the earth and turns into a stream or a river, and that's going to be a little bit closer to the basic sense of diexados. So in that situation, you could say it's a tree planted by springs of water as opposed to a stream of water or something like that. So you have two options on the table. It kind of depends on where you want to land in terms of how close the translator here is getting to that original Hebrew word. I would also offer the possibility that there's some echoes of Genesis 2 here. We've seen in prior videos on Genesis 2 that you have the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden. You got a water leaving the garden, and so on. And so perhaps there's some sort of vague echo of that as well. So a lot of interesting stuff going on in the first part of Psalm 1:3.